Hey guys, welcome to episode number 76 of the Big Time Strength Podcast. I am really excited today, guys, to bring to you Coach Jon Haugen. He is the Assistant Athletic Director for Athletic Performance at William Penn University. Really awesome conversation today. He is obviously doing some really big time things there. He's grown his staff. He's got up to 7 GAs now, which is just unbelievable, and he talks a lot about that and how he's grown his staff during his 7 years there at William Penn. And man, he invests a lot into his staff. So if you're a young coach who listens to this, is maybe looking for a GA spot or maybe just an internship or really anything, I'd really look into this guy. Man, he invests into his staff a lot, and you can tell you get a really awesome experience that kind of includes some high school stuff too, which you'll get into quite a bit in this episode. Really excited to bring him to you guys today. Before we get to him, let's recognize our sponsors. Number one, Team Builder. They've been with us basically since the get-go, and really appreciate Hewitt and his crew. They are the leading software for high schools and colleges by providing coaches the ability to write programs online, generate over 13 reports, and even train athletes remotely for side income. Right now, if you sign up with code BIGTIME, you will receive a free APRE programming template which works automatically within Team Builder. No more spreadsheets and workout cards to track training maxes that change day by day. Automate your programming without outsourcing your programming with Team Builder. Guys, today, while this posts, I'm actually going to be in Disney World with my son. So a cool thing about Team Builder is if I wanted to, which I probably won't, I will probably spend most of the time with my son at Disney World. I could check how our athletes are doing in 5 seconds. For those who've been active on the app. Really cool features Team Builder has, and just one of them is the ability to kind of monitor workouts during these off-campus periods. Really appreciate the guys at Team Builder for sponsoring the show. Next up is Powerlift. Powerlift is a great company. Most people know they are the leading manufacturer and distributor of heavy-duty strength training equipment for collegiate and high school athletic programs, centers around the world. They bring over 20 years of experience to the strength conditioning world. All products are manufactured in their state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Jefferson, Iowa. We are proud to support all coaches making it the big time where they're at. This is an Iowa episode today. You got Powerlift from Jefferson, Iowa, and William Penn University out of Oskaloosa. So, guys, as I mentioned, I hope everybody had a great Christmas. And is looking forward to a great new year as well, a nice, safe new year, hopefully. Please be safe, and it's kind of an exciting time just to start over again maybe a little bit, reset some new goals, and attack this year. But let's get to Coach today, Coach Jon Haugen out of William Penn University. You guys are going to love this episode. We will talk to you again soon. Hey, Coach, welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast. Really appreciate you taking time out of your winter break, getting rolling here and talking to us here. So let's get this thing rolling. Why don't you just go through your journey through strength conditioning so far and where you're at right now?
Yeah, it seems like it's been a long journey. For me, it started at being a college athlete and being in a really good situation where I had a great college strength coach, and that's kind of what helped steer me in this direction. And then I finished up and interned with him, Jake Anderson at Central College. And then from there, I went and did an internship for about a semester at Drake University in Des Moines. Had the fortunate opportunity to go and work with the Detroit Tigers as a minor league strength conditioning coach for a season. And then, from there, really knew I needed to go and do some grad work and get my master's degree. And fortunately enough, William Penn actually at the time was starting a strength conditioning program. They had hired the first strength coach, and it was a guy that I'd played college football with. And he was looking for GAs, and so kind of lucked out and was fortunate to get on there and help start building, what I am currently continuing to build. And spent 2 years there, then went to the private sector for a while. Sterling Physical Therapy, it's a physical therapy clinic in Pella, Iowa, and was able to lead their sports performance kind of branch of the business and worked with high schools through that. And then branched out and opened my own gym. It learned a lot through that. I opened it in Adrian, Michigan. Spent about 2 years there, and then when the opportunity came to come back to William Penn and take over the program, I was really excited about where the growth was and where we could continue growing this thing. So I've been back here now for 7 years. So, I really feel fortunate because I've been able to kind of see all the different areas of strength conditioning. I've worked in the high school setting. I've worked in the private sector. I've worked in professional sports. I've worked in the collegiate setting. And so I really feel fortunate to, at a young age, be able to experience all those things to help make the decision of where I am most passionate about coaching.
Yeah, as you're going through that, that's exactly what I was thinking. You got a little bit of everything there. So just a follow-up on that. I mean, what about William Penn and maybe just that environment do you really enjoy maybe compared to the other stops you've been?
Yeah, and this isn't meaning bad towards anybody else, but
Sure.
I think here it's just, we always talk about it, and we talk about it, on interview committees when people ask this question, but here it's the people. Everybody's supportive. We've got a really close-knit athletic department staff. All of our coaches and support staff are close-knit. You've got good relationships. It's not just come to work and, hey, I work with that person, but you actually have you establish a relationship with them. We've got a really supportive administration. They support everything we do, and that's huge too. And those two pieces alone, I think anywhere you're looking, regardless of the level, regardless of what you're trying to do, if you've got good people and good support, you're gonna be set up for success.
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt about that. So, Coach, you've been in there for 7 years now. Maybe describe to a little bit about the culture of your program and what you've been able to build there so far.
Yeah, I really. The nice thing was when I got here, Ike Hammerly, who was the strength coach here before me, he really laid all the groundwork. He was the first strength coach here, and anybody that's ever started a program knows, the piece of getting coaches to understand exactly what your role is can be the toughest piece. And so he had already established that by the time I got here. And so I got to kind of skip that step and just go right into building the program, and I think if we look at culture, I would say my hope is the biggest thing that we've instilled a culture of accountability across the board. So whether that's, the athletes being accountable to doing the little things, showing up on time, putting stuff back, doing things right, to my staff, doing things the right way, making sure that we're doing our part, not just to enhance the athletic performance department, but also to help out wherever we can within the athletic department and across the university and in the community. And so I would say more than anything, if I looked at it, I would hope that we could say we have a culture of accountability.
So with that, Coach, how many athletes are in your department total across all sports?
We're right around 800 this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that high. So that's great. So you're talking about accountability, and that's obviously extremely important. So maybe talk about how do you empower your staff, and we'll get into more of your staff here in a little bit maybe, but just on that topic in particular, how important is to have your staff on board with how you are keeping those guys accountable and what they are getting your athletes accountable to? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the number one thing is just making sure that we have open lines of communication, because we've got a lot of stuff going on a daily basis, weekly basis, semester basis, that if we don't communicate at a high level, things will break down really quickly. And I know that through experience, because we've had semesters or times throughout the last 7 years where communication hasn't been at a high level, and that can break down really quickly. So we've placed an emphasis on making sure that we communicate with each other, that we know what the expectations are. And then on top of that, it's not just communicating with us, but if we're going to do it and we're going to get the athletes to actually, follow what our culture is, we got to make sure that we have coaches on board, sport coaches. And so, communicating with the sport coach, and in addition, knowing what kind of culture that coach wants for their team, because anything we can do to help enhance that, obviously within the scope of what we're also trying to accomplish, we want to be able to help in that manner too. So I think it comes down to communication, making sure that we have standards that are set and followed. And then, at the end of the day, we're meeting twice a week as a staff to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So those meetings are huge as far as talking about what we've got coming up, what we've done over the last week that we could do better, or what we did good. And then at the end of every semester, as well as at the end of the summer, So 3 times a year we do individual evals with each of the staff members. So that's an opportunity for them to grow and learn from mistakes. Because at the end of the day, I tell them, I don't expect them to be perfect. They're graduate assistants. They're still young in the field. I don't expect perfection, but I just want them to learn, from their experiences. So whether if they make a mistake, learn from it. If they do something good, learn from it. If a staff member does something good or makes a mistake, learn from it. So we're not repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
Sure. And while we're on that topic, maybe just let us in on how you've grown your staff over your time there. I know you got quite a few GAs. Maybe how that's developed, and then maybe if you have any type of just like staff development tips or kind of what you do in that area as well.
Yeah, so when I first got here, we had 3 graduate assistants and then myself. So we had a staff of 4, which, again, already at that point, credit goes to Ike Hammerly for developing that and already having that situated when I got here. And what happened was we were at 3, and I think it was 2 years in, maybe a year and a half in, we actually had a high school athletic director that came to me, and they had it was kind of a full-time position, but without benefits, and it didn't pay the greatest. So they were really struggling to keep somebody in that position, and they were actually averaging, their turnover was more than 1 coach per year. And I think it was like every 10 months or 11 months they were getting a new coach. And so he wanted a little more stability with it. So he actually reached out to me and said, hey, would you be open to trying out where maybe your GAs run our program and come over 4 mornings and 4 afternoons? And so we first started out with that, and we created this high school outreach program kind of out of dumb luck. But when we did that, we had 3, and 3 would suffice. We still had 2 on campus at all times, plus myself, and then one morning, or one would be at the high school in the morning, another in the afternoon, and they just be on a 3-person rotation there. And so that worked out, and obviously we got paid for it, so it helped increase their stipends. It added a little bit of budget money to us, and from there, it kind of spread like wildfire. I mean, we never at any point with this high school outreach program, and we can maybe go into more detail with it later on, but never at any point have we been out in high schools promoting it. It just worked so well at this first high school that the next year another high school came to us and wanted to implement it. And the year after that, we had a 3rd high school come to us. And then the year after that, we actually had 2 more, and
Wow.
we're at 5 in 3 years. And really at that point, we were growing faster than we could handle. We didn't immediately go and with each high school that we added. So at the first high school, we still had 3 GAs. When we added the second high school, we actually added another GA position. So we'd have 2 coaches rotating at each high school. And then when we added the 3rd high school, we added a couple more. And as we grew too fast. And so we actually went from 5 high schools back down to 4, from the simple fact that we weren't able to necessarily offer the product that we wanted to. We weren't able, at that point, we were showing up and we were putting coaches at these high schools, but I don't think we were building the relationships with administration and coaches and students that we were initially in year 1 and 2. And so we kind of peeled back and slowed it down, pumped the brakes a little bit and said, 4 I think is good for us. And now that we're at 4, that's kind of been the requirement for 7 GAs, is to be able to accommodate that. And the cool thing, the easiest sell was, obviously our administration is very supportive of it because it builds community relationships with our local communities. But the easiest sell was, we're not, other than getting a tuition waiver for grad school, all the stipend money for these positions are coming from these high school programs. So it's not costing university money. We're able to pay these stipends, and as long as we can get a tuition waiver for them, we're able to create the positions. And then on top of that, you talk about development as a coach. You're getting experience as a GA. You're getting experience here to coach at the collegiate level, but you're also at the same time really getting 2 experiences, because those coaches, other than overseeing the contract and doing some of the contract communication with athletic directors and superintendents, they run those programs. So they're there on a daily basis. They're setting the schedules. They're doing all those types of things. So the GAs I've had get really good experience, and a lot of times in those high school settings, they get head strength coach experience. And so, it really just took off. And that's how we got to 7 was, I think dumb luck, thankful to that high school athletic director for coming to me with the idea, and where it grew from there.
That's an awesome experience for a GA. And you kind of stole my next question through there, but I am curious. Maybe some of your previous GAs who have graduated, have any of them found that they enjoy the high school sector more and have tried to pursue that route instead of the college sector?
Yeah, absolutely. And so every time somebody comes in their first evaluation, when I ask them, hey, I have a question, what's your 1-year goal, your 5-year goal, and your 10-year goal? And the 1-year goal, obviously, is that, typically always the same thing. They want to make sure that they're on track to graduate the following year or get a certification or something like that.
Right.
5-year goal, typically, when they first come in, before they've started working for us, the 5-year goal is typically, I want to be an assistant strength coach at the Division I level. And then their 10-year goal, I want to be a head strength coach at the Division I level. It's always interesting because it's to a T. By the time we do their next eval, so maybe that's a semester later, maybe it's typically, or maybe 2 semesters later, almost all of them at some point in that 5 and 10-year range are saying, they might say the same thing. They might still say they want to be an assistant or a head at a D1 level, but they also throw in, but I wouldn't mind working at a high school too. And so it's really cool to see that transition because it's like clockwork. Again, doing these evals 3 times a year for, with the high schools added in for 5 or 6 years now, it's like clockwork. And every time somebody comes in and writes those goals down that first time and they don't mention anything about a high school, it just kind of makes me smile because I know 6 months to a year later, they're going to be adding high school into that.
Well, I think that's a big indicator probably, excuse me, as well, that you've got a staff that's in it for the right reasons, that they're there to coach and they're there to impact people and they're not there just to make it to the D1 level. When they come back and say, I kind of like the high school, that's probably a good indicator that they're in it for the right reasons and will make it into a pretty saturated field, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Coach. So with having 800 athletes, I am sure efficiency is important. So, are there any resources or tools, software, anything like that you're using to really streamline stuff there for you?
Yeah. Ironically, when seeing all your guys' sponsors, Team Builder's a big one for us. Team Builder's been a lifesaver just for managing everything. Managing our training, managing our testing, and everything like that. They've been awesome for us. And so that's been probably the biggest game changer for us, especially with, we've added 3 new sports this year. And so we've got 100 and some more athletes that we're training and plus the high schools going on. So Team Builder's been clutch for us on that aspect. There's just other things like obviously, little things that can help with efficiency of training, whether that's, my entire staff. We just did this year, but we've got, I got them all memberships to strengthcoach.com with Mike Boyle, where they can get on the threads and talk and read the articles and stuff like that. And that's been a game changer for us because a lot of times, we can post questions on there and see, and maybe get responses and feedback from other people that have dealt with the same issue. And so that's been huge for us. As far as other resources that we've used, we've got push bands. So we'll do, the push bands for us have been a game changer because we can do so many things with them. I always refer to them as our Swiss Army knife. We can do velocity-based training. We can do RSI testing. We can do vertical jump testing. We've got a lot of different things we can use those for. We've got, jump mats. Jump mats are a huge part of everything we're doing. We've got 3 jump mats that we'll pull out during training, and I really think anytime we can give feedback to our athletes, and then timers and laser timers and that type of stuff. But if you ask me one thing that's changed the game for us, it's definitely been Team Builder. Just being able, it's so much more efficient and effective in how we program and how we track everything. It's probably saved us more time than anything.
Yeah, and for us too, it's huge. Just to continue to give Team Builder a plug, it's huge for this time of year too, where you have athletes off campus for that 4-week period where, like, I'm just sitting here and programming for all these sports for their whole January cycle instead of having to do that all on the front end and print stuff off to them before they head off the campus. I can just do it as time allows, which has been huge for us anyway.
And on top of that, you can track everything. We've
Yeah.
already had 3 coaches in the weight room this week. And to put it in perspective, we had finals last week. So this is the first week that some of them are starting their take-home program. And we've already had 3 coaches in this week wanting us to run reports and see who's doing what and who's not doing what. And so to be able to track it, because in the past you give them a sheet, or in the summertime you give them a pamphlet, and you just cross your fingers that they're doing it. And now you can actually see whether they're doing it or not.
Yeah, 100%. And then something else on that, you mentioned push bands, and we're starting just to kind of play with those as well. Do you mind maybe just expanding on just kind of how you use those, maybe who you use them with? Is there a certain type of athlete that has to earn the right to use those? You use them with everybody? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, initially when we got them, it was kind of, we wanted to keep it in our arsenal for our more advanced athletes. And I talked to you about, we've got a hybrid athlete right now that's, going to qualify for nationals in the shot put and also be a member of a likely 4x1 team, and maybe even qualify indoors for the 60. But, a guy like that, he's on pretty much a straight velocity-based program because he's been a high-level athlete for us for quite a while. So initially when we got it, that was our goal, is we wanted that to be a tool that we could use for our more advanced athletes. But the reality is, we're still primarily using it for that reason. But the reality is, the more we play around with it, even if it's not an advanced athlete, I think it can. Anytime you can give them feedback, it's going to increase intent. And anytime you increase intent, you're going to increase better and get better results. And so we're even at a point now where, in my mind, I haven't actually pulled the trigger on this, but in my mind, I'm almost to a point where, why not use it for everybody, just to give them feedback and maybe, get them to try a little bit harder and be a little more motivated, because they can all of a sudden create competition at their rack, or they can all of a sudden get some feedback and compete against themselves versus just, and it's not that all of our athletes go through the motions, but, you get an athlete in there at 6 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes it's hard to have motivation if you're in the 7th or 8th week of training in an off-season program. And so if even, and I know that's from a velocity-based training standpoint, that's what everybody's always said is, make sure you got these foundational levels of strength before you do it. But in my mind, I'm almost thinking, is it better to do this and create intent to make them understand how to train early in their training career?
Yeah, it's teaching them that, just that overall mindset, of intentionality in their training. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. And Coach, part of our job here too is, running a department is obviously you gotta fund things, right? Stuff costs money. So are there any ways that you're acquiring some additional funding for your department?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's that high school outreach program.
Right.
It's done some great things for us, and it's what allows us to do a lot of these things. It's what allows us to go and get a membership for every member of our staff, to have strengthcoach.com membership, to go to the NSCA Coaches Conference here in January and not have my coaches have to pay for anything, and be able to go down there and fund that for 7 GAs. And that's the big one for us. We've done some little things in the past, like selling T-shirts and stuff like that. And for us, that was initially kind of the goal. And now that we've got this high school outreach program where we're able to, be able to do some of these extra, maybe uncommon things, we haven't relied on that as much. If we do a T-shirt sale now, it's more just to get our kids a T-shirt with our logo on it at a cheaper price. We don't really, kick up the price an extra couple bucks to make a couple bucks off of them anymore. It's really been the high school outreach program. Yeah.
Great. No, and you mentioned, strengthcoach.com, but are there any other, maybe professional development resources that, you really, really like and go back to a lot?
Yeah. And I think there's multiple things. There's obviously numerous podcasts, and your guys' podcast in the episodes that I've listened to, you guys do a great job. And I think the unique thing with your guys' podcast too is it gives perspective. So many podcasts out there look to go find the biggest fish and the biggest name and those types of things, because that's what gets listeners want to view it. But I think the unique thing about your guys' podcast is, you're getting probably what I would consider the more realistic day-to-day look at what strength coaches do. And so, you guys obviously have a great podcast. So podcasts are one of them, and the other thing for us is, maybe people utilize this a lot, but man, we go to the NSCA Coaches Conference every year. And then those videos, if you've got a membership to the NSCA, all those presentations in their video format are on the NSCA website. The CSCCA conference, all those presentations are on the CSCCA website. So we'll watch those. And I think, just continuing to find resources. A big fan of Mike Boyle and everything he does. So anytime he puts out content, so the videos and stuff that he's done, we're buying them and we're going to, watch them together as a staff and review them and find ways to try and implement some of that stuff. And so, we're in an age where it's not my fear. And I talk to my staff about this. My fear isn't necessarily that we're not going to be able to find enough information, but how do we actually organize that information and be able to not be on information overload.
Yes.
And make sure we find the good resources that we can go back to time and time again, without getting too distracted by all the other things that are out there. And not that other things aren't good, but there's so much out there now. It's really hard to maintain a focus and not be blinded by too much going on.
No, I 100% agree with that. I bounce around on everything, and I know that's one of my main flaws or challenges, I'd say, is right up that alley. So I could definitely appreciate that. So, Coach, this has been great. Again, I really appreciate you taking some time to talk to us on the Big Time Strength podcast, and I appreciate the kind words as well. Let's wrap this up. I got just 4 kind of quick questions for you, and then we'll get you out of here.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
What is your favorite office snack?
That's an easy one. Peanut butter Cliff Bars. I've got a box in my office desk every day.
Nice. Love it. Favorite or coffee go-to? Sorry, not coffee. Didn't want to answer for you. Caffeine source. What's your favorite caffeine source?
Yeah, I mean, you answered it. Coffee. The other tricky thing though, and we did this again. We've got a nutrition area now with a refueling station, but we did this initially to try and again get discounted post-workout for our kids. But I contacted our local Coke distributor,
yeah.
and they brought in a vending machine, and they always, again, they wanted it to be thought we were going to look at it as a fundraiser. And I said, no, I want it at whatever cost you can give it to us for. And so like we had, I think, Fairlife chocolate milks in there for like $1 and stuff like that. Well, as we created our refueling station, that really hasn't become as big of a necessity. And so instead what we've done, and this might be a bad thing for my staff, but we've started to stock that with Monsters and Reign energy drinks.
Yeah.
So we have that at a somewhat discounted price and readily available 5 steps away from my desk. So
that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's very dangerous. Very dangerous.
What do you have in your fueling station there for your athletes?
Right now, we have a just post-workout shake. So we do that through, again, I think they might be a sponsor, Optimal Nutrition.
Yeah.
So we're hitting up all the sponsors today, but Optimum Nutrition, and they do a great job and have some good reps for us. But we have a post-workout shake. So the way we actually do that is, our athletes pay for it. So we factored it out with how we dispensed it and through our drink dispenser, how much protein we could put in for each 6-ounce serving, where our athlete pays $20 for the semester and they get a shake after every workout.
Great.
And then the next, we just finished up a semester. So next semester we'll say, if you want to be a part of it. And in the first semester we did it, we had about 68 athletes sign up. And this last semester was our second semester of doing it. And we had, I think 230,
wow.
So we made some groundwork there, and we'll probably have even more this next semester.
Well, just off of that real quick, I'm getting away from my final 4 questions, but I have a follow-up on that. Is how do you manage who's bought it and who hasn't? Is this kind of a trust process or what? So that was the biggest concern initially. So we have a list from each team. And so we know when that team's training, when they're going to be finishing up, if they're in our main weight room or our auxiliary weight room, we know who's going to be coming in, and we've got that list. So
It's on a chart, and they just check them off. So I've got a coach stationed there at the end of every workout, and they check them off, and they actually will hand the cup to the athlete.
Gotcha.
And then during the non, the hours that we don't have groups in there in the middle of the day and stuff like that, we just always have coaches in there. So we don't have to worry about the athletes sneaking in and getting some extra protein in. Although that's not a terrible want on their part, but obviously we got to monitor it so we don't run out at the end of the semester. So yeah, we just really, again, the benefit of having 7 GAs is we can station somebody over there at the end of the workout to hand those out.
That's what I thought. Maybe you had just like a protein GA, just hung out by the protein all day. Might be the way to do it.
Maybe that's the next one. Maybe we'll get a GA for sports nutrition or something like that.
There you go. All right. You have 15 minutes to work out or train. What are you doing for yourself?
I'd probably create some type of complex, and it'd probably be like a trap bar deadlift, a box jump, a chin up, and maybe some type of med ball throw, and just do a little complex. Yeah, I've had to do that plenty of times. Obviously, taking more responsibilities on the administrative side. Sometimes you only get 20, 30 minutes to work out opposed to what I used to get. So yeah, having done that in the past, that's typically my go-to.
That's why I asked that question, because I know we've all probably been in that situation when you got about 15 to 20 minutes. You got to get something done. I want new ideas. So that's good.
Yep.
All right, last one, Coach. Maybe a strength coach or two that does a really good job from a small school that you think deserves a shout-out.
Yeah. I know Allie Janicki at Luther College. I know she's been on the show before, and she's doing a great job there. I got a guy that I was a GA with here at William Penn that's the head strength coach and started the program at Southwestern College down in Kansas, another NAI school down there. He's doing a great job and really has taken that program and done a lot of upgrades to their weight room and things like that. And then again, I guess depending on what you classify as a small college, Nick DeMarco at Elon.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job, and he's a former student athlete of ours, and obviously love to see what he's doing and always progressing and really pushing the envelope of the field.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job for sure. You follow him on social media. He's put out some amazing things. So, all right, Coach. Again, thanks so much for coming on the Big Time Strength Podcast, spending some time over here on Winter Break, and we hope you enjoy your holiday and get the spring off to a good start here after the new year, and just keep killing it there at William Penn. You're obviously doing a great job.
Hey, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me.